We here at RSports are Virtual Major League Baseball. Our product provides an advanced and authentic experience in the hybrid category of fantasy and virtual sports. By owning and operating an RSports franchise, you compete for championships and money in leagues that mirror the MLB in every way. For sports fans who have dreamed of owning a sports franchise and handing out business cards that say Team Owner, RSports is making that dream a reality. Find them on Twitter at RSports Baseball and on Facebook as RSports Baseball. You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
I can't find it anywhere. All of a sudden, it was a little ESPN blip, and now it's like I was trying to find it to send it to you, and suddenly I can't damn find it anywhere. I think you said it. It was the maybe it was the Guardian or something.
Let me see. The Guardian. Let's try the Guardian.
I'll click on Lester on ESPN and see if it goes.
Sport.
Oh, here it is. Transfer fail leads to Mares boycott. Wow. This just came out like 30 minutes ago.
You said it's on ESPN FC?
Here, I'm sending you the link right now on your phone.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, let's read this real quick before we go through it. Mares threatens to never play for Leicester again. So distraught at being denied his dream move, he's ready to refuse to play for Leicester. Again, report to the Mirror. Okay, it was the Mirror. Algeria national winger handed a transfer request. City tabled several bids, the highest of which reached £60 million. Fox and Jelly offered assistant continues. $142 million moved to Barcelona and changed the value of their star winger. City would need to bid £95 million.
Wasn't it $95 million and a player?
Well, here we go. A proposal featuring a £65 million offer and a player in exchange was floated by Leicester City. Not that back. Walked away from a deal for the second time in the window. There'll be financial demands of both a player and Alexis Sanchez, and now the selling club in Leicester.
Wow.
Yep. So if we want to throw that into the news.
Sure. That can.
Yes.
We can put that in there. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean that just popped. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's grand. That's great.
Sometimes we pot at the right times. Sometimes.
Oh my god! It didn't wait for the story that wouldn't wait for Thursday morning.
It was true.
It had to come out Wednesday night. Thank you, football transfer gods.
Oh, somebody's looking out for the Florida Fair podcast, and I am very happy for whoever those gods are. Welcome everyone to the pod. I am at Edward Green. I'm also just Edward Green in real life. Joined as always live. Plausibly, by my colleague in crime, Wes Bradshaw, for episode 195. Wes, you back, mate?
I am, and in real life, you can call me Nighthawk.
Ooh, I like that. I like very stealthy on us, as some of these transfers were. Some maybe not so much. We'll be doing a lot of transfer talk today. We also have a Premier League midweek to review, because that's always a good idea for these teams. We have
very, very good for us.
Yes, this takes the sting off that FA Cup weekend.
What the FA Cup?
We'll also, as I may have said last week, we will we'll see how much time we have. Maybe very quickly get Wes's thoughts on the UEFA Nations League draw that happened last week that I discussed.
I have no idea what the hell that is. I've seen that.
Fantastic.
Maybe we'll look at it later.
As I said, we'll also take a look at the news and notes, and then finish up with Watch 4 and a big So Rock coming down the pipe for you guys this week. It was a big weekend for wrestling fans. As always, we are presented by NGSC Sports at NGSCsports.com. We never stop, as well as RSports Baseball. Fantasy baseball just got real. Much more real than wrestling. Don't just play fantasy sports. Own a team and gain equity. And Wes, before we do go, speaking of wrestling, I was actually reading an article today on Vox.com. Because as we know, the State of the Union was last night, and I was reading some articles about it this morning, because I have better things to do than watch it. And there's one
love the tweets. Watch none of it. Love the tweets.
Yeah, we follow social media. That's what we do for everything now. But the story I read started with, and this was an article about the media and how it handles the president, and it starts with, so there's a term in wrestling called kayfabe. Now, what it is this thing...
Kayfabe is dead, by God.
where people pretend to be, even on non-official channels. The Rock doesn't actually hate Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he'll tweet like he does, and he'll act in the ring like he does, so as not to break kayfabe. And I was like, yep. That's...
Wow, they went really far back on that one, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Fun times. So
folks, I'm going to spoil it for you. Sergeant Slaughter wasn't really an Iraqi turncoat.
What?
Right. He's really a real life G.I. Joe.
How dare you take that from me? So let's get to the actual matches. And we are going to start back in the Premier League on Tuesday.
This is where we do our kayfabe. We pretend like we know what we're talking about.
That's true. That's very true.
What?
The entire hour 45 of this is just kayfabe. So first, matches we're not going to talk about. We might talk about a few more this week than we normally do. We'll see. West Ham won. Palace won. Benteke finally scored a goal for Palace. He got him up in the 24th minute, but Mark Noble hit back with a penalty just before halftime to level the Hammers up. And that's where it finished at 1-1. Swansea destroys Arsenal 3-1. Nacho Monreal with a goal in the 33rd minute for Arsenal got them off to a 1-0 lead, but was hit back immediately by Sam Klukas just a minute later. And then in the second half, Jordan Ayew, excited upon hearing that his brother's coming back from West Ham, he got a goal in the 61st minute, and then Sam Klukas put Arsenal out of their misery with his brace, wrapping it up in the 86th minute. A 3-1 victory for the Swans. And Wes, last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, or last week, you were in the Anfield Corner discussing how terrible it was that, Liverpool dropped points on the road to Swansea. And as I said on Facebook, and I even said it, after Tottenham had their 1-1 draw against bottom table Southampton, the Premier League has made it incredibly tough to get points on the road. It's very, very hard. And as much as we love to laugh at Arsenal, and believe me, we did laugh at Arsenal a lot for this. This is the reality of the Premier League. Teams are going to go to the Swanseas, to the West Broms, to the Southamptons, to any other bottom club, and they're going to drop points the rest of the year.
Well, yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there. That's the thing. Everybody has some money now. Everybody can go out and invest in players. Obviously, some more than others. Mm-hmm. We're looking at you, Jose Mourinho. You with your no money self. Some more than others. But the thing is, it's no longer the Premier League where 4 teams have everything. 4 teams have a few guys, and then you've got 12 who just they've got nothing. Mm-hmm. Everybody has international players now. Mm-hmm. I mean, guys that play for national teams. Everybody has them. That used to be the big prestige. Oh, wow, we've got 3 England players, and we've got 2 Welsh internationals. Well, now, Jesus, everybody's got national players from everywhere. Mm-hmm. So everybody's got guys. Also, a word the great George W. Bush made famous, strategery-wise.
Love it.
These managers of these lower in the league teams, they understand how important it is that whatever they do, they've got to stay up. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no alternative. You go down, you're getting fired. Maybe other than Rafa Benitez, but that was a special situation. You go down, you get fired. Your clubs have the chance to go into complete disarray. Sunderland, how are you guys doing? And there's so much pressure that it stops becoming, well, hey, we played a good game of football today, and hey, the other guy is better than us, and we lost, but hey, it's all right. We'll try hard next time. No, now there's a demand to get results. Somehow you got to find a way to get results. A lot of the times it does degrade into parking the bus. But the thing is now, instead of other than Man United when they park the bus, teams have talent that they can spring a counterattack on you.
Absolutely.
Once again, other than Man United, who just park the bus and just sit there, and apparently Huddersfield. But you get a team like Swansea. If Swansea can hold you to no goals, Liverpool, or 1 goal, Arsenal, and you start making mistakes in midfield especially, and then at the back.
Oh, that Peter Cech error. Oh, God. Ooh.
They're still good enough to, teams, they still have good enough players where they can have a moment or two, a great moment or two during the match, and they can put a ball in the back of the net. And you've seen it from Swansea the last week. Against Liverpool, the header from Alfie Mawson, and then they just had a day where Fabianski stood on his head, and Liverpool were just, it was bad. Liverpool were just bad on the day. And Swansea were able to get that victory. And against Arsenal, they got a few opportunities, and they took advantage of them. Arsenal, extremely wasteful in possession. And also, we're going to talk a little more at length later about the new look Arsenal attack, or as we call it, LMAO. My ass off. Good job, Arsenal. But in midfield and defense right now for Arsenal, they are a shambles.
Yeah.
I mean, they're bad. And that's what happened to them. They got beaten in the midfield, and they got caught out at the back. And if the goals aren't flowing in, there's only so much your attack can do. Once again, I'm a Liverpool fan. I know all about this. When you're getting beat in the other phases of the game, it's bad news for you. And it was bad news for Arsenal. It was bad news for Liverpool a week ago. But, here's Swansea. They've won 2 straight matches. They won 2 on the trot against 2 of the top teams in the league. And they're still in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
And that just shows you, now it's very close down there, but it does just show you that there's quality down there. I mean, look at West Brom, who are suddenly playing better. They're in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
It's hard to get movement because at the bottom, these teams are so evenly matched. They play differently, but they're still matched up evenly. And then the top teams, if you catch them on an off day, these bottom teams still have good enough players that they can spring the big upset, except against City, of course.
Of course. And to your point, how you're saying that teams can play they can turtle basically in defense, and then they can spring a counterattack, and they're good enough to. You look at some of these numbers. Arsenal on the day, 71% possession. Swansea outshot them. That shouldn't happen. Swansea had 12 shots to Arsenal's 9. Each team had the same amount of shots on goal. If a team has almost 3/4 of the possession, they shouldn't be outshot. That absolutely cannot happen. And that I think speaks to what I guess they hope they are getting with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and now with their, as you said, their revamped offense. We can talk about this later. I'm not terribly convinced. I don't want to say much because I don't want to be made to eat my words, but we can talk about this later. I'm not totally sold on Arsenal's new look offense anyway, but they do go down. As we round off Tuesday, let's go ahead and head to Anfield Corner, where they went on the road to a bottom half club and came away with a victory. 3 goals. One from a reinvigorated Emre Can, as well as a goal from Roberto Firmino, and a penalty, his first on the season, from Mo Salah. That's right, haters. Harry Kane and Mo Salah are at the top of the table in goals. 2 penalties between them. 2. Just remember that. 2 penalties. In third place.
Salah missed the other one he took this year. So.
Yeah, and in third place, Sergio Aguero. 16 goals, 4 of them from the spot. Just remember that, guys. Just remember.
Get some.
Exactly. But obviously, Wes, a much better game for Liverpool than what they showed on the weekend. We can get a little bit into that later. But also an improvement from the Swansea match. We don't have to talk about how much they missed Roberto for Philippe Coutinho. Don't have to talk about that. But obviously this was a much better effort in another game, like the Swansea game, that could have been trouble for Liverpool, but easily dispatching Huddersfield in this one.
Well, and you made the comment earlier talking about Arsenal having Swansea. Liverpool were the exact same way, 70+% possession against Swansea. The difference against Swansea was against finish.
Yeah.
They were very wasteful, had some good opportunities. They didn't finish. You didn't see that invigorating kind of pop from Liverpool that we've come to be used to. But once again, I just felt it was a match they gave away against Liverpool. Looked like Klopp had gotten something through to them since the FA Cup match. They need to come out, play with passion, play with desire. They did it. And they took advantage this time. Once again, now big time. I believe it was almost 78% possession in this match for Liverpool.
70%.
But in the past we've seen that usually isn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen what was it, the Burnley match last year where Liverpool had like 81% of possession and got beat.
Yeah,
they got beat like 2-0.
Yep.
Yeah, couldn't score. Well, and then of course we saw against Swansea, we saw it against West Brom in the league match a few weeks ago when it was 0-0. But this time Liverpool do that, but they are able to find some good shots. They get some good goals. It started off with Emre Can from the long range effort. He's playing for that contract this summer. We'll get into that as the season goes on, but just real quick, I think we're seeing the string being played out for Emre Can here. But hey, you know what? The way kind of like baseball players, if they're in a contract year, you seem to get the best out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, buddy, you want to play with that big contract? Score some goals.
There you go.
Break up play, make plays. Hey, look, if Emre Can is a big part of us getting into the top four, and then he leaves in the summer, I mean, I'm not going to be happy with. He played well.
Yeah.
He didn't do what Mahrez did or maybe doing and just stop playing. So, but he got that. Firmino scored a goal that defied the laws of physics almost. I mean, that was the tightest. He literally had the ball on the out of bounds line and somehow got it in on the near post. It was insane. The goal just before the stroke of halftime, that gave Liverpool a ton of momentum going forward. And then finally on the penalty, Salah steps up, takes the penalty, and just puts the game away. That said, Huddersfield never showed any impetus to try to come out and play with Liverpool at all. I mean, we're not talking about parking the bus and getting a lead and parking it. We're saying when they were down 2-0, they were not coming after Liverpool. They were playing 11 guys behind. Mm-hmm. So it was truly about as once Liverpool got on the board, it became an extremely comfortable 3-0 win. Mm-hmm. And that's what Liverpool needed, truly. We saw the return of Jordan Henderson, the much derided Jordan Henderson, who may have been man of the match yesterday, played an outstanding match. Was outstanding off the bench against West Brom over the weekend. Oh, my God. Every time you're just – literally, this is how it works with Liverpool. When you're ready to throw dirt on the grave, suddenly they're man of the match. And then when I'm ready to call them potentially world class, they go to absolute shit. That's just what it is. When I wanted to talk about Emre Can after the Man game, oh my God, we got to re-sign this guy. He's world class. He's showing it right now. Then he goes out and has an absolute stinker against Swansea. So I think I just need to keep downgrading all Liverpool's midfielders for the rest of the season. See what happens. But it was a clean sheet, which was big. Mm-hmm. Once again, Huddersfield didn't exactly offer much going forward. But a clean sheet. Van Dijk did not play. Mm-hmm. He was on the bench. Klopp said it was a physical issue. So, I don't think Klopp's lost any faith in Van Dijk at this point. Just didn't want to go out and risk him in a match that, once again, Liverpool knew they were going to have the entire match.
Sure.
So it was a match where you could go to a back of Lovren and match it, because those guys are going to play around the center of the park the entire match. So that's exactly what happened. Anyway, Liverpool back with the win, the 3-0 win. The goals help because that helps your goal differential. And as we'll get into with some of today's results, Liverpool climbing the table this week.
Absolutely. And just real quick to your point, and again, in contrast to that Arsenal match, Liverpool, again, 3/4 of the possession. This game, though, Liverpool 14 shots, 7 on goal. Huddersfield mustered only 5 shots, only 1 on goal. So that's the difference. Swansea, when they turtled and they did get possession, they took advantage and they pushed forward hard. Huddersfield, not so much.
And it came right into that midfield as Milner, Chan, they were breaking things up. They weren't letting guys get behind. There was one goal in that Arsenal match that they picked out Granit Xhaka. I believe it was the first one, and watching where he went and what he did, it looked like the idea of what on God's green going on the field. Yeah, and that led directly to that first goal. And it's just Arsenal are somewhat a little shambolic now. Liverpool you're just like, all right, what's going to show up? With Arsenal, Arsenal Fan TV is a very, very popular show to watch these days.
So much fun. As for the Wednesday editions of the Premier League, Everton beats Leicester, the team Rand Mahrez will never play for again, 2-1 at Goodison. With Theo's team now, new entrant Theo Walcott comes on and hits a brace, making it 2-0 inside 40 minutes. Jamie Vardy had his little party at the penalty spot and scored in the 71st, but that was all Leicester could muster as they are sending out basically everyone. I know they sent out Leandro Ulloa. I believe he went to West Brom. I believe they also sent out Islam Slimani. They sent out Ahmed Musa to, I think, somewhere in Russia. I think Moscow. So very, very interesting times over at Leicester. Newcastle and Burnley drew 1-1 at the St. James. Good for them. Also Southampton.
And basically, real quick, just those three.
Sure.
Burnley, Everton, and Leicester. That's pretty much your battle for 7th.
Yeah.
There are 6 teams if you want to keep Arsenal up in that group, which we will.
Sure.
There are 6 teams at the top. There are 3 in the middle, and then everybody else is fighting relegation.
Yeah.
So when you see a Leicester versus Everton, or a Leicester versus Burnley, or Burnley Everton, those are going to be big, important matches here in the second half of the year, just because there may be a spot out there for one of those teams.
Very true. And again,
which Everton doesn't want. So.
Yeah, they never do. Burnley, a big road point at Newcastle. Southampton drew Brighton and Hove 1-1. Glenn Murray from the spot for Brighton and Hove. As for Southampton, it was Jack Stevens who got them level just after the hour mark. Man City beat West Brom 3-0. Sure, that's what they do. Yeah. And Stoke drew Watford 0-0. Now for the other matches, the other 2 matches on the day. First, Chelsea 0. Bournemouth 3. Up the cherries. Callum Wilson, Jonas Stanislas, and former Chelsea, then Bournemouth, then back to Chelsea, then back to Bournemouth, man. Nathan Aki with the 67th minute clincher. All these goals coming in the span of about 16 minutes in the second half, sending Stamford Bridge into a stunned silence. And West, with what we've been hearing, they bring in, I mean, we'll get to this obviously in the news and notes, but they bring in Olivier Giroud, they send out Michy Batshuayi. Alvaro Morata's kind of hurt, and he just hasn't been really doing a whole lot. Is there a chance, and you can also talk about a match a little bit if you want to, but looking more macro, is there a chance if Chelsea gets knocked out maybe in like the round of 16 of the Champions League, that Antonio Conte doesn't finish this season as the head man at Chelsea?
The only way I can see that happening is if suddenly they go into a little tailspin, and Liverpool and Tottenham start to walk away a little bit. If they fall to fifth and suddenly they're 6-7 points behind Liverpool, they're 5-6 points behind Tottenham, and if that happens, you've got to assume that place is, because they are. I think we may have actually brought this one up sometime in the past, just a throwaway line. The old Bobby Knight book, Season on the Brink.
Yeah.
That is kind of where we are right now with Chelsea. Now, of course, Bobby Knight was established, god at Indiana basketball, and went on to continue being a god at Indiana basketball for many years to come. But it was just a season where they had just won a championship recently. I believe it was 2 years after they had won a national championship. Mm-hmm. Bobby Knight was this big celebrity. He was this huge personality, and he just got this feeling where, I can't be touched. I'm the man. The pressure was just amping up on him big time. And I almost think that's what's happening today. Now, obviously, it's a different beast, college basketball, compared to, football here. But Conte is, he's showing all these signs that he's kind of losing it a little bit. Yeah. The war of words with Mourinho, his inability to trust players that he brought in.
Well, and then the fact that they went through virtually every striker in the Premier League during the transfer window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the word I've heard from that is that it was never really that he wanted any of those guys. It was more him just being like, hey, you know what? I've told you I need a striker. You want to go get me a big-time striker? Well, let's get Andy Carroll. Let's get Peter Crouch. Let's get this guy. Let's get that. Just give me somebody. I don't give a damn who you give. Just get me somebody. And it was almost like his way of, just saying, well, you know what? You won't get me what I want. I'm going to be, it's like being a petulant child.
Yeah.
And then, once again, we'll talk about it a little more later, but to end up, don't get me wrong, Olivier Giroud's had a good career at Arsenal. But you would almost think that you wanted someone who could complement Alvaro Morata.
Yeah.
Now you just have two big strikers who can score with their head.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what you've got. And now you sent out Batshuayi. There's no there's
not a lot of pace when you're trying to score goals outside of Hazard, really.
Yeah, there's definitely no pace up front, but I cannot suddenly think of what I want to say. There's no variety.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's no variety up there. And for what he is, Giroud's a nice player on the bench, and he can do some nice. But Giroud hasn't been healthy all year. Mm-hmm. Morata obviously has had. Giroud also, I don't think he started but maybe one match this year. This isn't a guy who's playing 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. He's about, at this point, this season, he's about a 30-minute player.
Well, and if it helps, I was actually just flipping through stats while I was on my phone today. And, I was looking at some of the Premier League leaders. I'm going to pull it up real quick because I want to make sure I get this stat right because it was actually kind of amazing. The two people who are the best in goals per minute in the Premier League are Harry Kane and Olivier Giroud. Mm-hmm. And if I can find this, minutes per goal. So actually now, no, Olivier Giroud is still number one. Harry Kane dropped a little bit today because he didn't score. He's now third, tied with Mo Salah, 97 minutes. Harry Kane, 97 minutes per goal, 21 goals in the Premier League this season. Olivier Giroud, 93 minutes per goal, but he only has 4 goals.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't play.
For whatever reason, we still can't. No one has really figured out.
Yeah.
And now he's got a Aubameyang, and that's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
I want to see him let Aubameyang sit for a month because he has to just to immunity.
Yeah.
That's going to go over well. And also, I'm going to laugh when they sell eggs at our Lacazette this summer, too. Anyway. But for Chelsea, it's like this giant funk that the only person who's kind of keeping out of it is Eden Hazard and, of course, N'Golo Kante.
Yeah.
Chelsea just is this situation that could explode. Let's put it this way. Okay, where they are right now, they're sitting fourth based on goal differential. Chelsea could easily end up in the top four.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea could end up fifth, looking way up at top. I mean, it can go either way. I don't think Arsenal's catching them. But it could so go either way at this point. Just because we don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing they have for this. Just somehow quietly try to right the ship, somehow win their Champions League draw.
Against Barcelona.
But I mean, this is a tough point of the season for Chelsea. And yeah, they got Giroud, they got Palmieri from Roma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much they really strengthened during this window.
Yeah.
I mean, they spent a little bit of money, but also I don't think they got their top choices. Well, we know they didn't get their top choices.
Yeah.
So, now they're in the situation. I'll bring up Klopp real quick. People are screaming that Klopp didn't go out and, quote, replace Coutinho, which you're not going to get anybody to replace Coutinho in January.
With who?
Idiots.
With who?
Yeah.
Name names.
And they know you've got all this money and just want to spend charge the hell out of you. So, Klopp has this kind of long-standing thing, which, well, there is no plan B.
Yeah.
I have the players that I want, and I'm going to go all out to get them. And if I don't get them, well, we'll just wait and work on them next window.
Mm-hmm.
And that drives some people crazy. I've shook my head a few times with it. But at this point for Liverpool, it has worked out. Now, let's see if it's out and they end up in the top four.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, that's a huge gamble, potentially not bringing anybody else in. But with Conte, it seems like he was so hell-bent. It's almost like damn money. He was going to spend some of Roman Abramovich's money coming.
Mm-hmm.
And when he didn't get his number one choices, I mean, kind of like we were joking with the strikers, he just started going down the damn line, until somebody said, yeah.
Yeah.
Palmieri might come out and be a good one. But, the thing with Conte is not all of these Conte buys have really hit.
No.
I mean, Zappacosta hasn't exactly set the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, Batshuayi, and you can argue really Conte buys.
Mm-hmm.
But
Morata's been very
Yeah. And the thing is, Morata, well, we need to get a big striker this summer because we're going to lose Diego Costa, so we have to get a big striker.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Morata was kind of like the third guy that they want.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, the other two, which, of course, Lukaku, and he went to United. Seems like there was somebody else in there. Oh, who was the other big striker?
Was it Lacazette, maybe?
I don't know if they were in hard on Lacazette. I can't remember. I think it was somebody who decided to.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then it was like Morata's. Yeah, Morata's out there. And he spends, we'll spend money on Morata. And I mean, nobody panned him for getting Morata because, Morata's a. But it wasn't the guy that they wanted.
Right.
And that's kind of where Chelsea is right now. They're a squad that they're getting a little older. And they're spending good money on players. But I just don't think they're quite getting in the players that they want and truly need at this point.
Well, yeah.
So that's kind of my issue with Chelsea. And that's why I think Liverpool and Tottenham could really walk away from Chelsea because, obviously Tottenham just strengthened on the last day here of the window. Liverpool, they lost Coutinho, but they got Van Dijk, which a lot of people think is going to help more than losing Coutinho.
Right.
Jurgen Klopp likes his team. Mauricio Pochettino likes his team. Can't say the same about Antonio Conte.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell Arsene Wenger thinks about it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really interesting. Chelsea's going to be a fascinating watch through the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Not that they're going to go out and entertain the hell out of you, but it's just going to be fascinating to see if they can steady that ship or if it's going to burn to the ground.
And we have been here quite a few times this season with Chelsea. We've been at various tipping points, and they've always seemed to kind of pull it back. We're getting how many times can you almost set the ship on fire before it finally burns into the sea? We'll see.
And now they find themselves 2 points up on Tottenham, tied with Liverpool. And here's the thing: now they're tied with Liverpool with no matches in hand.
Yeah,
they don't have any matches in hand. Nobody has matches. So right now you're where you are, and you're even up.
Mm-hmm.
They're 2 points ahead of Tottenham. They're tied with Liverpool. I think Liverpool and Tottenham look a whole hell of a lot better than Chelsea. And let's see what happens. Of course, Liverpool, Tottenham, something's going to happen this weekend. We'll talk about that later. But I think this weekend's going to be huge for Chelsea because they need to go back and get points, and they need to do it in a very basic, boring-ass way where their fans are kind of put to sleep early because they back.
Yeah, and one last thing for Chelsea. This is a turning point in their season because now they don't have a League Cup anymore. They got knocked out of that. They are probably going to get knocked out of the Champions League in the round of 16. As good as Barcelona's looked this year, you have to like their odds to advance instead of Chelsea. So it's basically FA Cup. You're not winning the league, so it's the FA Cup and top four. Congratulations, you're now Arsenal. As we move on to our final match of the day.
No, Ed, you're your older brother's Arsenal.
That's true. Our last match, Tottenham 2, Manchester United 0. Oh my God, Christian Eriksen just scored. Oh my goodness. 11 seconds into the match, Christian Eriksen is fed by Dele Alli on a back heel and just puts one past David De Gea. And just Wembley erupts. Tottenham weathers an early United storm on trying to come back, and then good old Phil Jones, Tottenham's best strength. That's an appropriate reaction. He turns in a Kieran Trippier cross at his own near post to make it 2-0 Tottenham. And from that point on, Tottenham had some chances to make it an even bigger margin.
Oh, yeah.
But just David De Gea kind of standing on his head after being surprised a couple times in the beginning of the match. But Tottenham now have won, I believe, 6 straight at home against Manchester United. Josie can't be thrilled about that. Alexis having flashbacks to last year's North London derby at Tottenham. Just nothing going right now for United. And as you say, Wes, Tottenham pulling closer back up into that top 4 race with this big win. And with Chelsea, obviously, United losing. They get Lucas Moura today. They introduced him to the crowd. And it's one of those things where we keep saying it. It keeps looking like it's going to be Tottenham until we start talking about Chelsea for 20 minutes. But we keep saying one of these 5 teams is, including City in this, not that it's going to be City, is going to be very, very disappointed at the end of the season that they're not going to be in the Champions League next year. And that's super unfortunate. And hopefully Tottenham now can keep pushing forward. Not a great FA Cup, but this is easily the toughest stretch of their season. United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and the Champions League. Like that's their next stretch.
I think what you were looking kind of unbeaten streak at home against United, but they've won the last 3 straight.
Yes, sorry, that's what I meant. Yes,
which is the longest winning streak at home against United for Tottenham since the mid-1960s.
Yeah.
So that shows you right now where this club is. And of course, for Tottenham, Eriksen, I think, just shocked De Gea that suddenly that ball was just there.
Yeah.
There was Eriksen. And it was poor defending by United at the start of the game. And Eriksen was completely switched on. got the fantastic goal. He still had work to do when he put the ball down. Good job putting it in. And then Phil Jones, man, maybe they should play him up front.
Great boot. Great left foot. Great.
Lukaku can't score against the big team.
That's true.
So, hey, why not let
oh, man.
I mean, hey, he beat Devin De Gea, maybe the best keeper. Tottenham, they get the job done. And once again, Tottenham have that look where, okay, now it's time to run. We can put top four. We can submit ourselves in the top four. Let's go on a run. The problem with Tottenham is we've seen these false dawns, where they'll get a big win, and then they'll get a loss and 2 draws in their next 3. And of course, they're going from power to power. They're playing top team to top team, and completely different way of playing.
Yeah.
You've got United who are cagey, want to sit back, hit you on the counter. And then this week, coming up, you're playing Liverpool on the weekend. We all know about Liverpool at this point. So for Tottenham, it is their psyche. They do it without Harry Kane scoring, which is, that's while Kane is chasing that 100th Premier League goal, and it would be great to see. I know it's sometimes it's a boost to win when the best player doesn't score for you.
Absolutely.
Because you certainly don't feel like you're dependent on him. From the weekend, the FA Cup match, they really depended on Harry. And he got that goal, but then just couldn't get the second one. And they've got themselves in a tough spot having to get the replay now in the FA Cup. At this point with Champions League, trying to get in the top 4, it's one of those you hate having to. As I was watching the Liverpool match the other day, when we cut it to 3-2, my thought at that point was score 2 and win. I was almost hoping once he got late enough, I was like, all right, guys, don't fuck this up and get us a replay. We don't need a replay of this. That's a defeatist attitude. And of course, I wanted to see us win the cup, but at the same time, there are truly bigger fish to fry than the FA. That's a little sad, but that's the current state of everything. So, for Tottenham having to get that replay, it's not a great thing, but I mean, they should go and win that replay.
Yeah.
But big one coming up this weekend we'll kind of see for both teams. Are they back on track, or was the midweek kind of a one-off, and there are obviously still issues with both of these squads? It's going to be a big one for both of them. I mean, very, very big for both of them for those top 4 hopes.
Yeah, and as we close our talk, that is a perfect segue into the schedule for this coming weekend. Should be noted, Marwan Fellaini came on in the 63rd minute of the match against Tottenham, left in the 70th. No real reason was given.
I did see that actually. Hey,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I said it came out that he had picked up.
Okay. Gotcha. Well,
so I almost want to say it was a hamstring or his knee.
Gotcha. Okay.
But he has had problems this season.
Sure.
So that's where it stems from. So it's not quite as funny as we were hoping. Damn it. But that is it. So, and Fellaini's still can play a big role for United, especially off the bench. So
certainly, he's one of those big guys who can go up and get a header. Again, as we look to the weekend, 7:30 a.m. Burnley hosts the champions in waiting Manchester City at Turf Moor. At 10 a.m. Leicester versus Swansea. That's a big match all of a sudden. 10 a.m. also Manchester United versus Huddersfield. West Brom versus Southampton. Brighton and Hove versus West Ham. And Bournemouth versus Stoke. Then at 12:30, North London versus Merseyside Part 1. It's Arsenal hosting Everton. And then on Sunday, you have Crystal Palace versus Newcastle at 9:15, and then 11:30 a.m. the Foreign Affair podcast derby, Liverpool versus Tottenham at Anfield. And I'm not even sure when the last time Tottenham would have done a double on Liverpool was. I don't think they will, but
certainly not in the egg green.
No.
You had to wait a long time just.
Yes.
Been a while, and also Tottenham winning at Anfield is something that does not happen very often.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. Ed.
Yes.
London Bridge, Sunday morning.
Sounds fantastic.
Hey, Ed, maybe later we can watch the Super.
Oh, you say funny things out of your mouth. That's funny.
Ed, I'm a comedian.
Oh,
I'm working on my stand-up routine.
Oh, get that tight five going.
Ooh.
Oh, speaking of tight fives and funnies, Watford is hosting Chelsea at 3 p.m. on Monday. That should be interesting to see who's still out.
I'm gonna tell you that let's say either if Tottenham win, they jump Arsenal, or they will jump.
Mm-hmm.
If Liverpool win, obviously they'll push away from.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, either way that match ends, Chelsea are going to be behind one or the other going into Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a little bit of pressure on Chelsea. They need to go get a.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's a draw, Liverpool are going to be.
Yeah.
So, and then if it's that also a draw, Tottenham are sitting a point behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So they really need to bounce back, and just think if one or the other beat them, they're going to be looking up at it. So Chelsea, it's getting important for Chelsea here.
Absolutely. As we take a look at the table, City is still up 15 points thanks to United falling to Tottenham. United are 3 up on Liverpool and Chelsea in second place. Tottenham, as you said, Wes, just 2 points back of Chelsea for fourth. Arsenal 6 points behind Tottenham, right down there in sixth. And then it's all those other clubs. And then at the bottom of your heart, the relegation zone. I would say who's in 17th, but there's like 4 teams tied at 24 points. So, and Stoke and Huddersfield both have the same goal differential. So, There you go.
I mean, basically 13 down.
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
And you did mention Southampton and West Ham.
Yeah.
And that's a big one because they're both a win could help drive one of them out of the relegation zone.
Certainly. Southampton currently in 18th, level on points with Swansea in 19th, and then West Brom 3 points back of Southampton, 4 points clear of safety. Southampton and Swansea both 1 point adrift of that 17th spot. So now as we go to the FA Cup, hey, that happened. Your advancing teams: Sheffield Wednesday, Manchester United, Leicester, Huddersfield. Wait, what? No, that's gonna be a replay. Huddersfield and Birmingham are gonna do a replay, as are Tottenham and Newport. They're also gonna do a replay. Non-replays, also Notts County and Swansea. Swans, they're gonna do a replay. Coventry beat MK Dons. Millwall and Rockdale are gonna do a replay. Southampton beat Watford. Brighton and Hove beat Middlesbrough. Wigan beat West Ham. Hey, remember Wigan? It's their cup.
Ed, I know you'll get to it, but they will be facing Man City.
Yeah. The
last 2 times they faced City in 2013, they beat them for the cup. In 2014, they knocked them out of the 4th round. They've got City's number.
Yeah.
Well, at least whoever was the manager.
Roberto Martinez.
Mancini.
Oh, you meant who was coaching City. Sorry, I thought you meant who was coaching Wigan. Yeah. Sheffield beat Preston North End. West Brom beat Liverpool. Chelsea beat Newcastle. And City beat Cardiff. So your matches in the 5th round are going to be Leicester versus Sheffield United. Chelsea versus Hull. Sheffield Wednesday will be playing either Notts County or Swansea. West Brom versus Southampton. Brighton and Hove versus Coventry. Huddersfield or Birmingham will be hosting Man United. Millwall or Rockdale will be hosting Newport County or Tottenham. a lot of ors there. And then, as we mentioned, Wes, Wigan will be taking on Manchester City on February 19th in Wigan. Any thoughts on the FA Cup, or do we really need to go over it?
I hate to be out of it, but, you gave me the choice of take those Premier League points.
There you go. That's
I know that sounds terrible because, you play for trophies. And I believe that, but also right now, Liverpool are in a big spot where they need to consolidate themselves as a top 4 club.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that's a little more important than that the FA Cup. So.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for our game talk. Let's head to the news and notes. And as the transfer deadline closed earlier today, a lot of stuff coming in. Let's start. We can talk a little bit about some of the clubs. I do have some of the signings here. Let's start though, Wes. I want to take you back to little Babby Wes in short pants and a backwards hat, back all the way back in like 2014, when if I had told you, hey, you're gonna sell Philip Coutinho and loan out Daniel Sturridge, I think you would have punched me in the face.
Sir, I would have punched you directly in the
Oh,
dare you. No, I would say, though, out of those two, the selling of Coutinho would have been the least surprising of them.
That's true.
The fact that Daniel Sturridge has ended his Liverpool basically by being last, that's probably.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's one of those how the mighty have fallen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one of those stories where, Sturridge pissed away his talent or did something stupid. I mean, just injuries, man. Every time he turned around, that dude was. And, 2013, Daniel Sturridge, the year Liverpool finished second, when it was Sturridge and Suarez, and the year before, oh my God, it was devastating. Sturridge, Suarez, and Sterling, with Steven Gerrard in the midfield, was one of the most devastating attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel Sturridge was a huge part of that because you could not, under any circumstances, just focus on Luis Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
And Sturridge was massive, man. And I thought he had a really nice look. Obviously could have been better. The injury robbed him of that. Robbed us of the chance of seeing flat out one of the great English strikers. And oh, man, I hate that that's the way it is. So I wish him luck. The good thing about Sturridge is he can't play against us this year.
Yeah.
But hey, he gets to play against United. He gets to play against Chelsea. He plays against Tottenham. He plays against Arsenal. Go get some points for me, big guy. Go score some goals.
If he plays.
Well,
that's what I said. It was funny. I was watching the Transfer Day special after the Tottenham United match on NBC Sports, and Robbie Earl, they were talking about this transfer, and he's got a lot of goals. I know he's missed a lot of time, but he's got a lot of goals in him. I'm like, but he's got to be on the field to score those goals. Yeah. Robbie,
I mean, that's
the
whole thing. And it looked like over the last. But then even this year, he's kind of reverted back to, the nicks and the niggles.
Yeah.
And now let's see if West Brom are going to be able to help kind of a regime to keep him healthy.
Yeah.
It's not like every day with everybody else. So,
and they're going to need him to be because they're down there in last place. They need him to shoot them out of relegation, basically.
Yeah. Now, one thing they've got some nice names at striker. Mm-hmm. Now it's just going to be about them, putting goals in there and getting themselves some points. But Sturridge could be a big X factor for them, and I think if it's a firing Sturridge, I think England could do much worse as their key strikers.
Mm-hmm. Very true. There are some other ones. Aymeric Laporte joins Manchester City for what feels redundant to say at this point, a club record transfer. He's coming over from Athletic Bilbao. They were also obviously trying to get Riyad Mahrez. That didn't end up happening. So it's an interesting time for City. And then, Wes, and probably the grossest menage a trois to ever exist, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Borussia Dortmund all teamed up to swap strikers. Dortmund
definitely the grossest.
Yeah,
I mean that dude bangs models on the. Yeah. Sorry, Mrs. Giroud, but you know the deal.
So Borussia Dortmund is going to send Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang over to Arsenal. Arsenal are sending Olivier Giroud to Chelsea, and Chelsea are loaning, because that's what they do, Michy Batshuayi over to Borussia Dortmund. So I guess, Wes, I sort of hinted at my feelings first, but I would like to hear your thoughts. Do you think somebody actually won this deal, this triangle of strikers?
I mean, the obvious answer to that's got to be. I mean, Aubameyang's definitely the best out of those. He definitely, I think he definitely has the make the biggest immediate impact. For Dortmund, I mean, we'll see what Batshuayi does. Maybe a change of scenery is going to help him. Know that. And, the thing is, everybody saw he's scored 10 goals this year, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, it's not like he never scores. Yeah, it's not like he's Balotelli coming into Liverpool. I mean, the guy scored some goals. Not as good as Morata, wasn't as good as Costa.
Yeah.
But I guess it would be. But, this has potential to blow up. You're bringing in Aubameyang. Well, that pretty much tells Alexander Lacazette, guess what? You're not playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard some people say, well, you can stick him out on the come to be a winger. He wants to be the outright striker.
Yeah.
So, they finally gotten Mesut Ozil to put pen to paper today on an extension. They're paying him an obscene amount of money.
highest paid player on the team.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say he probably should.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess.
And then you've got Mkhitaryan, who, I'm sorry, I haven't been impressed so far. I really think Mkhitaryan is starting. He just can't play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see. Let's let him settle at Arsenal and see what happens. We talked earlier about Arsenal. It's not so much the attack you got to worry about for them. It's everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter Cech is falling apart in front of our eyes. Defensively, they're just, God, what has happened? I mean, Arsenal, the Invincibles were built on defense. What has happened to Arsenal? They have just, it's completely fallen apart. I mean, when you're playing Callum Chambers,
I'm going to be very interested to see how a lot of these pieces kind of fit together. Especially when you mention Lacazette, the guy who had to take a month to get used to the Premier League, even though he scored as soon as he was on the pitch to start the season. It was very odd. It's going to be very interesting to see, because those two, Aubameyang and Lacazette, do kind of feel like the same player, sort of. I do wonder. They did also talk about this on the transfer show today. You got to wonder how much of this was a move from Arsene Wenger, and maybe how much of this was maybe a move from Stan Kroenke and the rest of the board. And kind of saying, well, we're just gonna go out and buy this guy. He's one of the best guys available. We're just gonna go get him. It's like, but that is not we don't care. We really don't care anymore, Arsene. This is what we're gonna do. So that's
the thing is, I don't think Arsene knows how he's built the team anymore. I mean, you look at who they've sold here in the league. They've sold, and Coughlin's gone.
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Not a bad thing. Of course, Chambo. Yep. He's not the Ox anymore. He's Chambo. He's Chambo at Liverpool. We call him Chambo. The Ox is Chambo.
Oh my God.
But and of course they sold Alexis Sanchez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that too.
Who, for whatever you want to say about, you know what, Alexis Sanchez has dominated the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Aubameyang hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Aubameyang's had a few good years. German strikers have come to the Premier League never to be.
It's true.
It happens. It happens. And another thing is, what we saw from Aubameyang, from the way he acted,
mm-hmm.
I truly carried himself over the last year
mm-hmm.
is the reason he ended up at Arsenal, and that's not a knock. That's why he ended up at Arsenal and not a big nation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because this guy has Real Madrid talent. And that was a transfer a few years ago that was. And, Chelsea kind of took. Of course, Chelsea. Mm-hmm. Chelsea was like getting the town bike, but everybody take. I was called Arsenal, Chelsea once. But you heard him link with United a few times. That didn't really go anywhere. He was obviously linked with Liverpool because everybody with a pulse is, and also the Klopp connection. But Klopp kind of made it pretty clear. I like him. He's a good player, but. And to me, that's a little damning when the guy who brought you in and kind of turns you into a super.
And I also have to kind of wonder a little bit. We saw what happened with Alexis. We saw how bitter and we had all the hot takes as soon as he was gone about, this is such a burden lifted from Arsenal. They're gonna be peacocks. You gotta let them fly, and it's gonna be great. And then they lose 3-1 today. But I just kind of feel like if things don't go great, Aubameyang can kind of be that sort of player where he's very mercurial. And that's another reason, I know we just kind of joked about Arsene doesn't even know what kind of team he's building anymore. I don't think he's really an Arsene Wenger kind of guy. For all of his faults, I think that's why Alexis is gone. And he should have been gone much sooner. And I don't think Aubameyang, if it goes south, it's going to go south fast, and it is going to go south hard.
Well, the thing about Aubameyang, from what it looks, Aubameyang, I think people sit there and think, I had to say something on Facebook about this. They were like, hey, get rid of Alexis. He's almost 30, and we'll bring in a younger player. And I'm like, he's 6 months younger.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that Aubameyang's pushing 30 himself because, he didn't show up in Dortmund until he was about 25 or 26. He wasn't one of those 19-year-old prodigies.
Yeah.
He didn't show up. He's not Pulisic.
Mm-hmm.
But we're sitting there like, Jesus Christ, he's only 20. Oh, my God. Aubameyang he's much closer to 30 than 25 at this point.
He is going to be 29 this summer.
Aubameyang was looking for a big payday. Because, of course, the money is much better in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Bayern. And truth be told, the money's better in the Premier League than Bayern.
Probably, yeah.
It's just guys go to Bayern because it is.
You win a trophy?
And B, yes, it is prestigious and it's great. And don't get me wrong, they pay you. They pay better than
mm-hmm.
Arsenal can pay just as well, if not better, than Bayern, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with all that Premier League TV money coming in. To me, Aubameyang wanted the big move because he wanted big cash in.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we ever seen guys take the big contract and things just hunky-dory?
Yeah.
How many times have we seen that blow up in people?
Quite a few.
So I think there's potential for that. I think there's potential that he could get there if things don't go the way he wants it. Being a malcontent.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not a very strong locker room at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And, one bad apple can kind of ruin the cart, and that's somewhat what happened with Sanchez. Even though, really, the more you hear about it, I actually take Alexis Sanchez's side a lot more, I think, than I did the rest of the Arsenal team. It's like Sanchez is there because Sanchez is killing himself trying to win, and everybody else is just like, all right, whatever. Yeah. And, I actually kind of respect Sanchez for that. And obviously he wanted them.
Yeah, that's it.
But for Arsenal, I think this is a big gamble for Arsenal. A lot of money. And it's a fact, too, that they could be alienating. Well, I'm kind of hoping it blows up in their face.
Oh, yeah.
But, this is risky.
Yeah.
This is very risky, I think, for Arsenal.
This is very Tom Cruise risky business. Very, very crazy.
Dun, 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 dun.
So our last two stories. Actually, do you want to? I mean, we kind of talked about it in the pre-show. Do you want to talk about the Mahrez story, though?
I mean, we can touch on it real quick, just since we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a lot of sources.
Yeah, it's just as it's coming out. Just literally as we were about to start this podcast, basically from the Mirror. According to them, Riyad Mahrez is so distraught. He's heartbroken. He's crestfallen. Denied his dream move. This dream he has had since he was a young kid of how old he was 6 months ago of moving
more like about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, of moving to Manchester City.
Remember, his dream was to move to Arsenal.
Yeah. Oh, God. That is, I just, as a quick tangent and aside, that is becoming the funniest thing, is to hear every person who makes a transfer now saying, it is my dream. It's been my dream forever to come to this club that is now paying me oodles and oodles of money to say.
Don't forget, until about 6 or 7 years, City, because they didn't know anything about Manchester.
Yeah.
They knew United. They dreamed of going to United. They didn't dream of City.
Very weird. Anyway, Riyad Mahrez is apparently ready, as of tonight, ready to refuse to ever play for Leicester City again. And this is a guy who, he had the big breakout year when Leicester City won the title. They didn't sell him. He wasn't super happy about that. And we just talked about some malcontents. He was kind of a malcontent the following year after. He's had a bit of a rebound this first couple months, brought his stock back up. And then Leicester looked around and said, shit, Virgil van Dijk's getting $100 million. Philip Coutinho's getting $190 million. Let's go for 95. Why not? Hey, people are paying the money. Come on, City. You've been spending the big bucks. Although, as we know, Pep, that's not in his philosophy. That's obviously the board.
Absolutely.
Saw that tweet. That was a great tweet. But this is kind of insane. You have a contract. I'm sorry we're not going to sell you, but you have a contract. You have to play. Like, and if you don't, we just won't pay you. There.
And I mean, to me, it just shows extremely. It shows poor judgment, and it shows a complete lack of respect. Mm-hmm. Now, that's sin. If a player's good enough, you can kind of turn from being the malcontent into getting the big contract. I mean, God, look at Ozil. Mm-hmm. Look at Sanchez. You know, those are guys. I mean, they both have had their moments of the malcontentness, but they're really good. Mm-hmm. Mahrez had a really good year. Has been solid this year. Has been good. He's a good.
Yeah, good.
He's not near the level of Tomiyasu. You know, he's not near the level of Eriksen, the level of a Firmino or a Mane or a Salah. Mm-hmm. I can understand frustration. Now, too, the other thing is tell him. You know, was there an agreement in place? Hey, if one of these big clubs comes in for me and offers, you know, that you won't stand in my way.
Right.
Now, that's something we're not taking into account because we haven't heard it yet.
Well, and I also wonder, just real quick, one, we are in the middle of a season, in which, as you mentioned earlier, Leicester, along with Burnley and Everton, are probably fighting for a European spot next year. Like, I can understand if Leicester is hesitant to sell someone who has been crucial to their success this season in the middle of the season. I understand that. Two, as I'm reading this article, he only handed in his transfer request 2 days ago.
Exactly.
Like, he didn't put in his transfer request at the beginning of January and said, guys, I appreciate all you've done for me, but I'd like to leave now. Can you please try and work out a deal in the next month with Man City? No, it's like 2 days. Hey, can you guys get me out of here?
Yeah, just because suddenly somebody's pop.
Yeah.
And
I understand where you're coming from with the with that deal, but I have like Liverpool would never have sold Suarez in the middle of a season for that reason. They would have had him stay for an entire season and then say, okay, Barcelona wants you at the end of this year. Go ahead. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, and I also think the Coutinho situation. Because basically, I mean, he had not been on month until suddenly Sanchez fell through. Yeah. And then to top it off, Sane hurt his ankle.
Right.
But once again, he may have had that hand City or United or Liverpool, Chelsea or Tottenham, probably not Tottenham because I don't think Tottenham's going in for a player like that. No. But, one of those other guys, hey, if they come in and they offer you a really big amount of money, hey, it would be good for both of us. You can let me go to a big sum of money. From what we understand, City were willing to pay a big amount of money for
$60 million. Yep.
Okay, so let's say they were agreeing to pay $60 million. Well, if I'm Riyad Mahrez, I'm looking. Good God, that's near a Premier League record amount. Mm-hmm. I can go to the champions waiting. I can play in the Champions League. Hey, this is exactly the kind of move we talked about. Guys, go ahead and make it happen. Mm-hmm. And then Leicester starts in there like, well, we have all the power.
Right.
And we're going to play the power. I've got to think that this was in the works for maybe about a week. And then when it looked like it was going to fall apart, transfer request.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times those transfer requests will come late to force somebody's hand. Mm-hmm. And once again, I am not agreeing with about the rest of the season. I think that's horrible. But I want to hear if there was a handshake.
Sure.
City comes in with a £50 million plus offer. Mm-hmm. You'll take it and you'll let me go to City.
Right.
And then suddenly Leicester just been like, "Ooh, we've got all the power here. We're going to get $95 million," mm-hmm. which was never going to happen.
Now there was also it was $95 million, or they also floated an offer apparently $65 million as a player. So.
Yeah. And now, I mean, for City, at the end of the day, for City, Pep does have a limit of what he's going to go up. Mm-hmm. City's not just going to pull out a blank check and say, all right, we'll give you whatever.
Not for Riyad Mahrez, no.
Oh, but I mean, if you do that for anybody, we're not going to give you $100 million. Oh, you got a check, but give it to me. Mm-hmm. And then two, I wonder players. What player are you asking for? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you asking for a £30 million player plus $65 million? I mean, that's a little ridiculous. So I can see where I can understand City deciding to say no, because that was mm-hmm. for a guy who, while yes, he should be. Mahrez isn't really the difference in you winning or losing. Mm-hmm. But two City are going to try players.
Yeah,
I think both sides are in the right.
Yeah,
and I do think it's going to come out that there wasn't a sell him at a big price to a big club, and they backed out on it. So, like I said, still think Mahrez is horrible for saying he's not going to. But at the same time, I can almost see where he's coming from, because I will bet it's going to come out that less lied to him. So.
Yeah, it's as we said, this just came out a few minutes before we started the podcast tonight, so lots to unravel in the coming days. Final two quick stories. One that was a typical hashtag Thursday story, when last week I was doing the pod by myself, I may have mentioned that in talking about United, hey, Jose Mourinho, maybe he won't last the rest of the season. Ha 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 ha. Thursday, Manchester United gave him a contract extension until 2020. So there goes that. I still think he's not on the thickest of ice at United. He's never on thick ice anywhere he is, really. But this might kind of, I think, solidify it at least a little bit. Like, I obviously don't think he's going anywhere this year.
No.
Maybe not even till, like, deep into next year. So.
Well, we'll have to see what happens because, as we know, a contract's worth the paper that it's written on.
That's true.
I mean, if United suddenly go to hell, one of his ultimate Josie moves, things could change on a dime.
That's true.
But, for Mourinho, too, I'm not saying, Mourinho was trying to play. I'd like to know how much more money he got.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Mourinho thought that he was going to start getting more potentially between PSG and United.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that ever really took off the way he hoped it would.
Yeah.
So, good for him. Hey, he got a little. I'm sure Josie needs money from.
He loves it.
He's got to wash the clothes down.
There you
go. Got to have quarters for the machine.
And finally, this is a story I was going to bring up last week because it came out last week. But our resident England national team man wasn't here, so I wanted to wait. And also, one of Wes's all-time favorite people in the entire world was involved with this story, so we had to wait until he was back on live in the program with us. Wes,
Ed?
I want you to tell me. I want you to get me excited. I want you to sell me on new Three Lionesses coach, Phil Neville.
There's not really anything to sell on. This is... I don't understand why shit happened. This is a guy who's made disparaging comments about women's class. Yeah. And now you're hiring him to be the manager.
Way to do the research, guys.
Oh, dear.
Way to punch his name into Twitter.
Yeah. I have... It's just one of those that makes me shake my head. If anything, okay, cool. You got Phil Neville. So, yeah, you probably have
a track record of being a manager.
Yeah, you probably have the most. You probably have the most recognizable managerial name in women's football. But it's not exactly a who's who. Yeah. Coaching women's national teams. So, good on you, England.
I like this one.
Let's see what happens.
I like this paragraph in the article on The Guardian. Asked to name the leading goal scorer in the Women's Super League, Neville was stumped. For 20 excruciating seconds, he mused on the question before eventually deciding it could not be Izzy Christensen, an English forward playing for Manchester City. Annoyingly for Neville, it was Christensen. See, I didn't know, he said, but the damage was already done. Neville will have to get used to people trying to trip him up because, through no fault of his own, well, a little bit of fault of his own, it is an appointment viewed by many as a botched job by the Football Association, given his lack of experience and knowledge and his casual sexism on Twitter. So I added that last part in. That was my little editorial note for The Guardian there. Here you go. Good on you.
I don't know, to me. This is a guy who's never coached the women's game.
Yeah, and I don't think he's ever actually been a head coach. He was an assistant in Valencia, correct?
Yeah, that worked out really well, didn't it?
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, I don't know what the
It's so weird.
And this is something I say a lot of times.
It's fine.
I know this, they're fucking up.
Yeah.
But whatever, I guess we'll see what the England women do. They had that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see if Phil Neville challenging good old USA.
Just straight trash. All right, we're done with news and notes. Let's go to the watch for. By the way, speaking of the USA, did you know the US played a friendly this week?
Yes, I did, Ed, against one of the nations.
Oh, man.
Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Oh, those teams.
Two of our favorite nations, Ed, here for the foreign affairs.
Yeah, it's true. We love the
We're
Nations.
huge in the Balkans.
Yeah. 0-0 draw. Still no manager.
Well, it wasn't exactly
friendly
prime time. So,
what channel was it? I didn't even see where it was.
I think it was on ESPN. Maybe the ESPN family of networks. Which could mean anything.
Well, the only big news we'll see is next month when somebody becomes their new president. No disrespect to you, ma'am, but I hope it's not Hope Solo. So, as we move on to
Martino 2018.
Glorious hair, man. Wes, in the watch for, what are you watching in the week that was or the week that will be?
Oh, man. Lots of stuff on the telly, Ed. Stuff I'm excited about. We just had the on NBC. Of course, coming up is the Winter Olympics.
Yes. Rebecca Lewell will be there, though.
Yeah, but that's not enough to make. So we got the Winter Olympics coming up. So the Brave has hit the midseason break. As of right now, there are no more episodes ordered of the Brave.
I know you. I've seen you become part of a Twitter campaign for this.
Yes, I had to get it on the Twitter.
Great.
But yeah, I'd love to see the Brave come back. It's been a great show. I mean, 14 episodes. I'm hooked. I wish they'd definitely keep it. That's one we'll have to see coming back. The Paramount Channel. Ed, do you know about the Paramount Channel?
I don't know about the Paramount Channel.
Formerly known as Spike TV. Formerly known as TNN, the Nashville Network. It goes back a long way, Ed. Paramount Channel, obviously owned by Paramount. Anyway, they have a mini-series. It's somewhat of a mini-series. I believe it. I don't know exactly how many episodes it's going to be, but they're doing an hour a week called Waco.
Oh. Taylor
Kitsch from Friday Night Lights fame. Also played Lieutenant Michael Murphy in oh God, I've forgotten one of my favorite Lone Survivor.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a Lone Survivor. He is playing Dash. And it's supposed to be really good. I've DVR'd the first one. This is my I'm in the 2 long ass work weeks, so about to get some time off. So I'm gonna definitely catch up on Waco. But I'm interested in it. I will remember Waco. I believe I was 11 when it happened. I was paying attention to it. Man, it was. But you want to talk a mess?
Yeah, a little bit.
You want to talk a mess? That was a mess. So I'm interested to see that because I specials on it, watch documentaries. So I'm interested to see how they play this. But the little bit I've seen in preview, he's channeling David Koresh very well. So you can say that's a good thing or not. But yeah, so and also in one of my absolute favorite guilty pleasure shows is back. Another Period.
Oh boy
is right in that show has no limit, no filter,
never.
But it certainly makes the 1920s look a whole hell of a lot. So yeah, if you just want to burn 22 minutes, check it out, man. It's great. That's my watch for this week.
My watch for this week is going back to my faves. Great News just ended their second season. Hopefully there's a third. Although I will say, the way season 2 ended, if that was the end of the show, not a bad place to end it. Everybody's in a decently good spot. It's not bad. Not bad. I hope they come back, but I got closure. I have enough closure to where that could be the end if it is. Good place finale. tomorrow. Oh boy. Who knew a burrito could be so much fun? That's good stuff. Good.
I have one myself tomorrow.
And remember, it should never take you an hour and 22 minutes to decide between what one of two hats to wear. Just never, ever let that happen.
And just remember, folks, fedora is never the answer.
No, that was the only answer. It was just
God.
It was what color fedora did you want? Did you want gray
God.
or did you want cream?
Sir, you want to pull out your third and just put it on top of your head.
Just pick one. Just pick one. As we're talking about fedoras and round things, I want to talk about the rings and the squared circle that is used in wrestling. Let's rumble. It's rumble time, baby.
I'm not gonna lie, that may be your worst segue. What is this, episode 190? That's the absolute worst one.
195, and I think I've gotten worse every time. Wes, let's get so raw.
Man, we're talking about one thing this Rumble. Man, I've got to give it to WWE. That was a hell of a pay-per-view on Sunday night.
Heard it was good.
I didn't agree with the placement of some of the matches.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of understand why they did it, but, I'm a little more of a traditionalist.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that. It wasn't a deal breaker for me by any means. We had 4 matches and 2 Royal Rumble matches. The tag team title matches, just real quick, the Usos retained. They beat Gable and Benjamin. On the Raw side, the Bar won the titles back from Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan. Not a lot for me to go into on that. They were both good matches, don't get me wrong. Wasn't totally invested in either of them.
Mm-hmm.
I was invested in the title matches, though, in a handicap match, a 2-on-1 handicap match with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus AJ Styles, where if Owens and Zayn won, co-champion. Never seen anybody split the title before. That would have been interesting. I say would have been because AJ Styles overcame the odds, rolled up Kevin Owens after Owens Styles came down, rolled him up, got the 3 count, retained the WWE Championship. Owens and Zayn screaming. They were running theme of them in title matches over the last 4 or 5 months. That's obviously going to build after the Rumble match. But real quick, the other title match was the triple threat between Kane, Braun Strowman, and Brock Lesnar. Carnage ensued as we knew it. But kind of as a lot of us guessed would happen. Not so much hope would happen. Brock Lesnar did retain his title. He pinned Kane for the win after incapacitating Braun Strowman. Tables were destroyed. Chairs were used. People just got the living shit beat out of them. Still the most entertaining human being pretty much in all of wrestling to me. So big, so strong, so athletic. Such a great character promo. Braun will definitely be back. I'm going to go to WrestleMania and face Lesnar. I'll touch on that in just a minute before we finish up. So Brock retains, AJ retains. The titles don't change. And then, Ed, we go to the match as well. Kind of threw me for a loop. In the middle of the show, at 8:15, here comes the Men's Royal Rumble.
Oh.
The Men's Royal Rumble has been the ender for the last decade has been the men's. So never had a Women's Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently that's going to go on last. So the men come out. They have the Rumble. It wasn't the greatest Rumble of all. but I was really, really interested in the ending of it because of the guys that we. Now, WWE, don't get me wrong, they've been known. So when the last 4 people in the Rumble were Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, 2 absolute people love, want to see get their opportunities and big things. The 2 men against them were Roman Reigns and John. And WWE teased the hell that either Reigns or Cena were going to win. And Ed, if they had, I swear to God, because Philadelphia would have burned down the Spectrum or wherever the hell they played.
Oh, man.
They would have burned it down. When, I believe it was John Cena, I thought people were about to start lighting the matches. And then Roman Reigns kind of turns on Cena. It doesn't really turn on this. But he throws John Cena out. I believe he threw Cena out. Maybe it was Nakamura. I can't remember. But the last 2 were Nakamura and Roman Reigns. Of course, Philadelphia is where Reigns won the Rumble, I believe, 3 years ago and was lustily booed out of the building.
Mm-hmm.
I think people actually despise him more now. So Philadelphia also, as we know, kind of a tough town when it comes to sports.
A little bit.
Remember, these are people that booed Santa Claus and pelted him with snowballs with batteries in the middle of it. Great people. And cheered Michael Irvin nearly becoming. So they're great folks. But at the end, Nakamura was able to knock Roman. Shinsuke Nakamura wins the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And that was massive. That was the official podcast. If you folks caught it last week on my So Raw, that was my pick. Got it in, got the win. And then after the match, they interviewed Nakamura. He said in his broken English, AJ Styles at WrestleMania. And I popped because that is the match that us smarts have been waiting for. They've been there. Styles and Nakamura is an amazing match. You have to go back, which was AJ Styles and pretty much Nakamura's last matches in New Japan, where they were just fantastic. A 5-star that night in the Tokyo Dome. They can absolutely put on a phenomenal show. WWE has 3 months to get the build on this right and to give us the match that we want and to let those 2 competitors. It can happen. It can be amazing. You know, I don't fully trust WWE at this point.
That's true.
But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. All right, and now the main event of the night. Women's. I was skeptical. It wasn't the cleanest Royal. One of the problems was, most of the men, your average height for the men wrestlers are, say, 6'1", 6'2". The ladies are not that tall. Mm-hmm. Well, for the men, going over the top rope is, pretty easy. They can get that leverage. For the women, it kind of looked like at times to get, quote, eliminated from the match. Now, that didn't take away a lot, but that was kind of a little nitpicky. That's part of the night. They did a really few surprises thrown in there along the way, which is how the Rumble usually works. With the women, considering the more limited number of women that you have on the roster, they had 18 current women in the match. So you had 12 more spots to, which was cool because that brought up some NXT people, including Ember Moon. I know you have an appreciation for it. So she was brought in, and then there was a call them the legends, the former ladies in the WWE. The Bella Twins made their return. The highlights of the night for me were Kelly. Just to look at her and what she was wearing, it's just magnificent. Vicky Guerrero had a really funny part. And then, of course, the return of Trish Stratus. Who, sir, as a 17, 18, Trish Stratus was God to me. That was the be-all, end-all of womanhood, 1999. And, sir, she ain't bad now either. She is, I believe, 42 years old, and she is spectacular. So, Trish was actually in the final. The MVP of the night was Sasha Banks. She went down to. She was in the final five. Maybe she was in the final four, or final six, something in there. But she went long. She was your longest survivor before getting thrown out. At the end, you had Asuka in the match. The Bella Twins were doing a good job of NXT and WWE, still undefeated. When Nikki Bella decided she needed to turn on her three out of the match. So it looked like, Nikki Bella and Asuka, they had some good moments, and eventually Asuka. So here's Asuka now. She's the Empress of Tomorrow, whatever the hell they want. But she's really good. She's really good. She's really fun to watch. So at that point, the two champions came into the ring. Alexa Bliss. Good. Didn't go off tonight.
No.
They came into the ring, and it was kind of left up to Asuka. And before she could do that, Ed, some new music hit.
Bob.
And oh my God, the internet melted down as Ronda Rousey made her debut on WWE television.
Wow.
She comes down to the ring, somewhat awkwardly points at the WrestleMania. The universal sign of, hey, I'm here, I'm Mania. Who am I going to fight? They popped the crowd a few times. First, she got in Charlotte Flair's face. Then she got in Asuka's face. Still not a solid idea of what she's going to do yet. But for WWE, Ronda Rousey's a huge name in the world of sports and entertainment right now. She's crossed over from MMA into Hollywood. She's a name that everybody knows. Now, that said, she has said that she is 100% committed.
Mm-hmm. Everything I've read says that. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we're going to start. I kind of hope early on they don't. Make her a special attraction for a while. But kind of hold her, make her a special attraction. What I think is interesting is that she's not assigned to a show. She can bounce back and forth shows to start with. So now the one rumor I have heard is that it's actually a mixed gender tag match at WrestleMania, and it's going to be Ronda and Kurt Angle versus Stephanie and Triple H.
Ooh. So
she did have a little moment with Stephanie McMahon at the end. But a lot of excitement coming out of it. Potential for Lesnar and Braun down the line. A lot of cool things going on. Finn Balor had an awesome showing. He was, like I say, he was in the Final Four. He was the number 2 guy into the Rumble. So he started it. He went all the way to the final. I'm really enjoying his character development. I think he's moving more toward heel, which I've been saying for a long time. Put him with Gallows and Anderson, reform the Bullet Club, make him a heel. That's what they've done. He's subtly turning heel. So, and that's the best way. Don't install our so much, but let that turn happen subtly. So I'm kind of excited right now. Real quick, what we learned on Raw is to determine the challenger for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, we're going to be having the Elimination Chamber coming up at the end of February. It'll be six people in the Elimination Chamber, and they are doing qualifying matches to get in. After Monday night, we have Elias Braun Strowman for some unknown to God reason, which means they better do something. They had John Cena go over on Facebook. So, yay, John Cena's in the Elimination Chamber. Woohoo. That does just give the chance for Braun Strowman to literally break him in half.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to that. But, man, that's it. I know it was. That is this week's Raw Royal Rumble edition.
It was really good, though. Jam-packed with jam. Oh, so much nicety.
You just got jammed.
Where are you in Parks and Rec, by the way?
Midway through season 6.
Through season 6?
Yeah, like I said, I had to work a lot over the last 2 weeks. So I plan on being done.
I'm so excited for you to get to the end of season 6.
Let's put it this way. Shit.
What?
Shit.
What?
Leslie Knope's best friend.
Ann Perkins.
Ann Perkins. God, of course Ann Perkins. They have moved to Michigan. I'm horribly disappointed because Chris is literally the most uplifting character I've ever known.
I've noticed how many times you've thrown literally into this podcast.
I've literally put that into my
vocabulary
vernacular. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
Use my damn words, damn it.
Yeah, they're great words. We had a lot of great words here on the Foreign Affair podcast. Some would say maybe we have the best words. Maybe. Who knows? This podcast is presented by NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com. We never stop, as well as RSports Baseball. You can find them on the Twitterverse. You can also find us there. At AFA Pod is our collective. Wes, you are.
I'm at Wes Bradshaw 21.
As I said at the beginning of this program accidentally, I am at Edward Green. You can also find us Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube via our parent show, the All New Sports Show. You can also email us at that address, allnewsportsshow@gmail.com. Also, thanks to our podcast providers, including Podbean.com, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, Google Play Music, and the iTunes Music Store. Thank you so much for joining us here for episode 195. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking, of course, the AFA Podcast Derby that happens this Sunday. We'll be talking the rest of the Premier League. If we have an update on the Riyad Mahrez situation, we'll talk that. I don't know. Is there anything midweek? Midweek will be FA Cup replays. Yeah. So we'll finish that up, and that'll be Gucci. So before we get out of here tonight, Wes, anything else you'd like to add?
Sir, a big, huge congratulations. Best friends of the pod, baseball, Britt Johnson. And he is now the proud father of twin boys. Young Cade. I was about to say proud owner, but I got father. Young Cade and young Johnson, the future hot corner combo for these Carolina Pirates.
Demon Cade.
Oh, either that or they're going to be the starting left and right guard for East Carolina one day. Sure. Can't really totally figure them out yet. But big congratulations to Sam. Everything went good. The boys are home. And obviously, I'm sure Britt's got them up at side squeezes and situational awareness.
Hey, pitchers and catchers report in like 3 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Hey, college baseball kicks off, I believe.
Yeah.
Heat is State's opener. So D2 is going to kick off in a week or two. Maybe this weekend. D2 kicks off. And D1 will be kicking off, like we said, February 16th.
Baller shot.
So I believe App starts off in UNC Charlotte. Or maybe it's UNC Greensboro. I can't remember. It's one or the other. But, yeah. So, go Mountaineers.
There you go. Go Mountaineers. Go all of our friends of the podcast. And to all of our friends on the Foreign Affair podcast who are listening in week to week, as always, we leave you with stay safe and enjoy the football.
Good night, Boo, North Carolina. Take care of those two good boys.
They're very good boys.
Bye, my boys. Boys.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop. Attention fantasy baseball fans. Come to the next level and experience virtual Major League Baseball ownership. RSports provides an advanced and authentic experience combining fantasy and virtual sport. By owning and operating an RSports franchise, you compete for championships and cash in leagues that mirror the MLB in every way. For sports fans who have dreamed of owning a sports franchise, log on to RSportsBaseball.com or find them on Facebook as RSports Baseball or on Twitter at RSports Baseball and make that dream a reality.